I've realized that lots of people who are successfully in the real estate people are people that are continuously educating themselves. And one of these areas where they educate themselves is by reading books. And in these videos that I come out to you every Saturday is that we do a book review. And today I'm going to be talking to you guys about a book from Brendon Burchard. And that book is called High Performance Habits. And that book has kind of like helped me to just beef up my habits in terms of what I do. Boom, boom. How's it going? How's it going? It is I, your boy, TJ. Yeah. And welcome to M5 Property Addicts. And this is where we do and talk about anything and everything around real estate. And predominantly today on a Saturday, we're always coming out to you with a book that I've read, a book that have helped me in my journey to be where I am today. And the idea is not to show off that TJ is reading so many books. No. The idea is that you can learn from those books as well. And if you've read the book that we're going to be talking about, hit me in the comments in terms of what have you learned. Out of it, my idea of sharing these books is that I've also realized that as a people, we don't know what we don't know. So for me, when I'm reviewing all of these books, my greatest idea behind it is that I raise awareness in terms of we need to be educated, and education doesn't mean that going to school alone. Education means it's also about reading books. Other people have been successful, and from these books, we can learn something. And without wasting time, I want to jump in and introduce you to the book from Brendon Burchard. And he is a New York best-selling author. Yeah. And I got this book actually in 2018, 19, somewhere there, I think, right? And the first time I read this book, and this is the book, High Performance Habits, and I think it's a cool book. It's slick. I like it. I like the quality of it. And yeah, you can see there's lots of similarities with my book, isn't it? Yeah. But before that, this is the thing about this book here. I think it's a book that came to me at a time when I was down in terms of I was trying to figure out how best can I do more. I knew that I can do more. I knew that I can work harder. I just didn't know whether working hard was enough. And I was working hard. I was still employed at the time when I was reading this book actually. But I wanted to do more to produce more income. And I was trying to figure out, how do you do that? And I came across this book here. I was listening to YouTube and he was being interviewed. And I was like, I need to get that book. And guess how much I bought the book for? $35. Yeah, $35. This is at a time when I'm down and out and I am in debt, extremely in debt at that time. This is around about 2018, somewhere there. And I'm trying to figure out, how do I do it? And I think I want to come back to a point of saying, you know, when you're down and out, sometimes we look at things that can help us, but we don't think that it can help us. We know it can help us, but we're too scared to pay for it. And we're too scared to, like, if I use this money and this is my only money, then there's nothing. Like, I want to speak to the point when Jenna and I, we were in the training room and they said we needed to pay, I think we paid about $150,000 for our training collectively, for our training in property. And at that time, we didn't have $150,000. We didn't have $150,000. Actually, the only money that we had was our bond money at that particular time. And my wife went actually just to swipe the card for the bond money, and we skipped the bond in that month. And we are hustled to get the rest within the next 7 days. We took a sacrifice, and look what that sacrifice has done. By no means am I saying that go and take your bond money and pay for something else. No. But what I'm saying there is that sometimes you need to take the risk. The reward could be far greater. But don't take the risk when you're not prepared to go and work in it, right? But having said that, I want us to speak about this book here called The High Performance Habits. And it has really helped me at a time when I was trying to figure out, how do I do things differently? I was employed, I was working in my power space, in my green zone, in the working environment. I was doing great. I've been a good performer. I've always been a good performer in my workplace and things like that. But I thought that there could be more. And this book literally taught me that there could be more. And I want to speak to you guys. But before I start speaking about this book, actually, I want to quote the same quote that Brendon quoted in here in one of the chapters. And he reads on to say, motivation is what gets you started. Motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going. Yeah? And that quote there comes from John Royne. And if you know John Royne, he's a legend. He's a legend. But I want to just start off by reading up a couple of, and I haven't done this, but we're going to do it today, right? This is like introduction, right? Introduction to this thing. And he just speaks, this is like on page 17. So I read the book and I'm like on page 17 and I am reading a couple of headings, yeah? And it starts to speak of to say, high performers are more successful than their peers. High performers are more successful than their peers, yet they are less stressed. Yo, that statement, it hit me hard. It goes on to explain a little bit more, but I'm not going to check it out. You can buy the book for yourself. The next one says, high performers love challenges and are more confident that they will achieve their goals despite adversity. They believe it. They believe they are going to achieve it despite. They are confident. All right. High performers are healthier than their peers. High performers are healthier than their peers. Okay. All right. High performers are happy. High performers are admired. High performers get better grades and reach higher positions of success. High performers work passionately regardless of traditional rewards. High performers are assertive for the right reasons, obviously. High performers see and serve beyond their strength. Serve, serve, serve. Right? Okay, let's continue going. There's two more. High performers are uniquely productive. They have mastered prolific quality output. And the last one is high performers are adaptive servant leaders. So I read this book. This is like the anchoring statements that I read in the introduction. So I went in and I started reading about this guy, about Brendon. I realized that he's a guy just like me. His background very similar to mine. Change management. So for some of you who don't know, that's industrial psychology. So change management, that's what it was, his thing. And when you're doing change management, you kind of like, you're serving a lot of leaders and you amplify the leaders. So you're doing a lot of comms for them in the background. You're planning for them on how, the organization is being changed, and you've got roadmaps for them. What do they need to say? What kind of activities needs to be happening? And you're kind of like working in the background, but the leaders get all the glory for it, and you're kind of like at the back. So that's kind of like serving, right? Okay. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. At least I know someone else. I'm reading someone else's book who understands what serving is all about. And then I started getting a couple of emails from Brendon. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I like his content. So I started getting more and more of my teeth into his stuff. And I realized that actually Brendon is very solid from an industrial psychology perspective in terms of observing people. He observes people, he documents, and obviously that's how he gets his content in terms of writing book. So great man, I respect for him, and you can check out his websites and things like that. But I want to speak to you guys about, when I started reading this book, I was at a level where I was thinking that I'm performing good. I was performing great. The system was saying that I'm a good performer in the workplace. But was that the benchmark that I was looking for? No, I was looking for another benchmark. So there are a couple of lessons. Remember, I always talk about 5 things that I learned from a book, right? And the couple of things that I learned from this book, and these things are like anyone can actually implement them. But I just utilize all of the content that was in here. And if we jump onto just those statements that we spoke about the high performers, I started looking at myself, reflecting, and I'm like, so am I a high performer? Am I always happy? No, yes, sometimes. So I literally drew up a list of what high performers do, and I had a scale. And in that scale, I was like, tick, tick, tick. Am I always, sometimes, never? So I saw the gap. What I'm trying to say here is that I literally started doing an analysis for myself. Because remember, this high performance thing, it's the habits that you need to be creating to be a high performer. It's about you. It's got nothing to do with anyone else. I sleep next door to my wife every day. It's got nothing to do with her. We speak every day. It's got nothing to do with her. About formulating the habits that I'm wanting to do. It's all about me. Now, habits, it's only me who can create it. Fine, I've put in a little bit of some accountability with my wife, and she doesn't know that she's actually my accountable partner. So for instance, I've got a certain time that I wake up in the morning, and I always tell my wife that if ever I snooze my alarm, my wife, she's generally much up at an earlier time than I am. If ever I snooze, she needs to give me like a jab, right? Like, wake up, bruh, right? What I've just done there is I've put in an accountability person to an area where I could be suffering from. So I might have worked in the whole night, but the point is that my habit is I need to be waking up at a particular time. Whether the kids are going to school or they're not, or whether I'm going to drop off the kids or not. But remember, it is the habit what keeps you going. So if you set the habit, then your going becomes much easier. So what are the habits that you need to have? I'm not going to tell you those habits because it's about me. These are my habits. That's what I've done. And your habits, you need to figure that out. So the 5 things that I learned after reading this book, and I've been reading this book for several times. I've gone back into it a couple of times. The first one was that, what habits do I have now? What habits do I have now? So you kind of like need to go into this book and you like start to see and put a reflection on yourself and like, okay, who am I? Who is this guy? Right? So start learning about yourself. That's the first thing. The second thing is, obviously, as a person, you now know where you want to be. So that's the North Star, right? So you now want to come back and say, what habits do I lack? Which is point number 2. What habits do I lack, right? So there's maybe about 15 of them. Out of them, you know that you have 1, 2, 3. But which ones do I lack? So the ones that you lack, it means that you need to improve or start those habits, right? The third thing that I learned is that I do have some habits that I've got, but which ones can I improve now? So for instance, I'm going to talk about waking up. Maybe you wake up at 6 o'clock, right? But you want to wake up at 5 o'clock or at 4 o'clock, whatever, for whatever reason, okay? I wake up earlier because for me, the first 2 hours of me waking up, it's about this guy. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm like speaking to Jesus, right? It's my first hour. Thank you, God. I'm up. Right. What do we need to plan for today? I start doing what we call visualization. So I visualize, spend some time, just visualizing what my life wants to be. I meditate a little bit. That's all part of visualization. So I've got about an hour there where I'm just spending time with me. There's a bit of exercise that comes into it, right? And then the next hour, I am literally either on a jog or on a serious walk, and I'm physically getting strength, right? So I've sorted here first and the men above, and now I am physically sorting this out, the body, right? So some exercise. It's my first 2 hours. So that's a habit that I've had to create that I didn't have before. So can I improve that? Because we're talking about the third part here. Which ones can I improve? So can I improve my meditation? Can I make it longer? Can I make it deeper? Can I improve my connection with God? Can I read maybe more on the Bible? Maybe can I interrogate more on the Bible? Maybe can I worship a little bit more? If it's my morning run, can I run longer distance with shorter time? You get what I mean? So that's the whole improvement part. But if you don't know what you actually have, you can't improve it. So going on to the fourth thing, which habits do I need to learn? Which habits do I need to learn? And this takes time. It's not an event. It's not something that you can do like once off. Around the learning part of new habits, it's extremely difficult. And I want to stress this out. So for instance, I'm going to give you guys one of a habit that I didn't have before, right? So I never used to drink lots of water. So I carry this bottle. Some of you have seen me all the time with this bottle here. So I clap 4 of these in a day. Why? I clap these because it's generally lukewarm water with some lemon in it. Why am I doing that? The more your body has more water or fluid in it, the more your body has fluid in it, the better it functions, right? The better it functions. More water, more thinking processes better because you got more blood flow. You're not dehydrated. If you're dehydrated, you can't think properly, right? So I clip about 4 of these in a day. It's like almost like a 2 liter, right? And also, I also learned that I can throw in some lemon in there. The alkaline helps me in my body. So I never used to do this. I used to drink water as and when I'm thirsty. So it's a habit I had to learn about my body and about this guy here, right? Makes sense, right? So again, what are your habits? What are your habits? So which ones don't you have? Mentally, which ones don't you have, right? Physically, which ones don't you have? So maybe you don't exercise, so you need to start exercise. It's a habit that you need to learn. Because if your body has got strength, if your body is strong, you are healthier. And if you are healthier, you can execute stuff. Maybe it's about your eating habits. You're just eating junk, you know. Or maybe you're not even eating correctly, right? So you need to have a habit where you can actually start eating correctly. So which also then translate into what you put in your fridge, also translate into what you are buying at the groceries. So you see, there's a ripple effect. So the learning part is the harder part, and we've all grown up knowing what we know, and the majority of us, we are conditioned in that way, and we eat the food that we eat because we grew up knowing that it's time to change the taste buds, man. That's what it's all about. When I tell a lot of people my age, they get shocked. But I learned this at a much younger age, and that's why I look as handsome as I look. Yeah, all right, good. Number five. Again, we're still talking about the habits, high performance, right? We're still talking about high performance. Which of the habits, so it's not all doom and dead, right? You potentially have some habits. So this process here is going to put you in an awareness perspective. Like, oh, this habit is actually good for being a high performer, right? So which ones do I already have that I can improve on? So earlier on, we said, which one can I improve now, right? So it's just general. So now we're saying that, which ones do I already have? So out of the 55 that we spoke about, potentially the 2 are already in the doing zone, but now we are improving them. right? So we're going the extra mile. We're making perfection, you know. So you're intentionally making sure that, like it says there, high performers are generally happy, right? High performers are happy. So when you get upset, because you are going to get upset, because the world makes us to be upset with other people that are just going to do silly stuff, how are you going to handle that situation, right? So I have a process in which I work people out of my space if you've done something silly, right? And that process is I cut you off mentally. So I cut you off mentally. Okay, fine. You bump me here. I'm gonna look at the damage, and if you're the one who was mistake, and I do look at the damage, and there is no damage, I'm just gonna let it go. I'm like, okay, great, thanks, let's go. Right. So I cut that event, and that event is gone. I'm not thinking about it. I am not procrastinating. What if, what it could be? I'm not thinking about it. It's gone. I'm back again in my zone of happiness. Right. TJ, you're talking nonsense, bruh, because some people are just going to make you upset. Yes, but it's a habit that you need to learn to cultivate, and just go along. It becomes better and better. Okay. So out of all of these 5 things that I learned, which ones did I apply? Well, in many books, I generally apply maybe up to 1 or 3 things, but I am consistently applying all of them. I am consistently applying all of them. Why do I apply all of them? Because I want to be a better person. Because I want to know how to become a better person. So for that reason, I'm consistently checking myself. On a monthly basis, I go in and check, what have I done better? What can I do? What can I add on? Consistently, I'm doing that. So I've got a calendar in my Gmail, my personal email, and I've got a blocker. And in that blocker, I look at these habits here. And I say, Taurai, what are you doing better? What can you do? What didn't you do last month? And for me, it's just basically, I want to model the way who I am, right? I just want to model the way who I am. I just want to be better. That's all. If I can be better than who I was yesterday, then that's it. No competition to nobody. No looking at John. No looking at, hey, Peter's got biceps and, you know, nah. It's all about this guy. My habits, my mental habits, my physical habits, and my intelligent habits. And if I push those, I'm in a better space. Remember, motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going. It is TJ. You are able to get that book online. Yeah, you're able to get it. I've got a link in below here if you want to check it out. You want to buy it for yourself, or you want to reach out to your local shop wherever you are. But the best is obviously to get it just on the link below, because it is here now. Conveniency. This is why I do what I do, so that you can see that these are the books that I'm reading. They can help you. And if you're in the same space of me, helping myself, helping yourself, as I help myself, and we can share. But if you've read the book and if you've learned some nuggets totally different from what I've shared, I want to hear from you in the comments below. And yeah, let's keep learning, and let's keep growing. That's all it is. My name is TJ. God bless. Goodbye.